Welcome back, guys. As always, Hot Mess Espresso is very proudly sponsored by 502 Media. We have Victoria Cortez on the podcast today, who is a licensed therapist, speaker, and founder of First Gen Feeler, which is specializing for those first in the family, diving into emotional and mental well being, along with breaking generational patterns. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. I literally saw what you do and went, I have to. So, um, what what inspired you to start First Gen Well, like, let's back up. What made you decide to become a therapist?
I didn't originally want to be a therapist. I like helping people and I love traveling.
Mhm.
So I was like, you know what? I want to be a superhero. I want to be the person who flies in to save the day when like a natural disaster hits. And I think I'd been watching too much TV and I was just like, yeah, that's me. And then I got into grad school and was placed in my internship where you get all of your experience. And through that, I got to realize that the biggest disasters aren't physical, they happen within the four walls of a home.
Ooh.
And so I felt like, I think I don't have to travel for this. I can work in my community and create ripple effects of healing in our community because trauma is passed down, but so is healing. So then
Mhm.
that sort of became how I became a therapist.
I mean, valid. So then what sparked First Gen Feeler?
First Gen Feeler was a creative project at first. It was just a way for me to get my creative wiggles out after I left working at my county job. I was feeling a bit burnt out, understandably so, with the
Right.
systems that exist. But I didn't want to lose that spark because I'm a creative myself. And so
Mhm.
I said, you know what? I want to create something that is more accessible for people who don't know how to ask these questions. And also in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I hope my cousins see, like my little cousins, if they have
Right.
questions about, things and they don't know who to ask, that this is something for them. And I'm like, and everything else is just gravy. But yeah, so that's what inspired it. I always said I was never going to go into private practice, and life just laughs at you. And
Sure
then
does.
a little bit later, I was like, dang, am I going to do this? And
Mhm.
I came up with the definition of first gen feeler. And because I was having a lot of conversations with friends who were the first in their families to go past the point where their parents were.
Mhm.
Right. And so it's like we were given this roadmap, and then you go past a certain point, you're like, oh, I gotta try out
Mhm.
a new map for myself, or just allow myself to fail because it's part of the process,
Yeah.
and know that it's okay. So I that's a it's a safe landing space for people who are the first.
Yeah. I was also a first. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I was the first in my entire family, not even just like immediate family, but like entire family to actually go to therapy.
Oh, nice.
And
Congratulations.
it was terrifying because that even up until a couple years ago, a lot of people in my family definitely didn't have the best views on therapy and mental illness and stuff like that. And thankfully, a lot of them have come around quite a bit. But
Mhm.
it's also it's definitely, I mean, I'm sure you see this with a lot of your clients, but it is scary to sit down and be like, I've got to reparent myself. I've got to parent my parents. I've got to, do better for the younger siblings. I have to put up boundaries like
It's overwhelming
Mhm.
because I think a lot of us, I'm first gen Latina. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, and so there's a lot of pride there too,
Mhm.
right? And I have had the wonderful experience of being one of the eldest daughters as well as a younger sibling, so I get
Whew.
the best of both worlds. But that it's like there's a fear of failure too, and I feel like
Mhm.
you can also walk in with a list, which happens often, where they're like, I okay, these are the things that I know are an issue, right? Because awareness is never the issue, right?
Right.
It's your mind knows what's going on, but let's get your body to be on track with safety.
Right.
But it's really scary because you're like, this has also been my identity. I know how to protect myself in these practices. So then when you dive into therapy, it's like, like, you're going to unravel me.
Yeah.
Everything's
Gonna,
working so well.
do you kind of see with a lot of your clients that they'll come back in and they're like, things are actually worse now because I see more?
Mm-hmm. I always tell everybody things get a little bit worse before they get better.
Yeah.
It's like an intense workout. Every time I meet with my clients, I'm like, remember, it's like going to the gym. We just did an intense emotional workout right now. So we're going to hydrate. We're going to nourish ourselves the same way. But yeah, sometimes things but it's in a different way because the awareness is there. But I think the heavier parts are like the shame that creep in with it. Where it's like, oh shoot, that's been there this whole time. And so there's a lot of guilting. And so we also get to talk about that of like, we get to thank our past selves for keeping us alive to this point, right?
Yeah.
All of these things had a purpose. And now we get to do things differently when we learn differently.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about the shame enough of like when we're in survival mode and we react to things a certain way and then we look back and we're like, oh, that was like not the best, but we didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't if we already came equipped with knowing what to do, therapy wouldn't exist.
I think that's the reminder even in my own personal journey that I would always give myself, which is I am not supposed to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is me learning. And I give a lot of people this affirmation, and I've shared it on my page before too. I've never done this before. I'm still learning, and that's okay.
Yeah. Do you find I always love asking, like, 'cause I've got a couple friends that are therapists and they'll be like going through something and I'm like, well, what would you say to a client? And they're like, shut up. But do you find that like you're like, I know what I need to do, but I can't like figure out how to actually make that happen sometimes? Like, do you therapist yourself sometimes and you're like, I should know, but like I can't, like my other emotions are getting in the way?
Another phrase I like is don't shit all over yourself.
I love that phrase. I love that phrase so much.
There are moments, but I'm human. It happens where everything's in seasons. Someone just asked me the other day, they're like, how do you do so many things? I'm like, it's not all at the same time. It's in seasons. Like when you see me on it, that's fantastic. Yay me. But also when I fall off. But my inspiration, it's not so much shame anymore. I say that the common thread that runs through the people I work with is guilt and shame because it's just what's happening, right? When we're trying to recalibrate how we respond to things. But for myself, it's having trusted people around who help me just recognize that. I have a lot of therapist friends too. So we also enjoy calling each other out. And I'm like, I know.
It's good though.
Yeah, it's really good. But I think for myself, I have in recent years have been more gentle and saying, oh, I'm noticing this. So I have to turn down the volume somewhere. It means that I'm going back into old ways, which I don't need to do that, especially since I've been retraining my nervous system to feel safe with me. So I take my foot off the gas and I'm like, it's okay for me to be still. I'm safe. I'm safe in stillness and let me just take a minute to recalibrate. So that's how I deal. But my inspiration for taking care of me is that I love the work that I do. And I'm a big believer in people can tell your vibe. So I like to show up genuinely as me. And so I continue to take care of myself as best as I can because my goal is to exude safety when others are in my presence. And so I want people to just be like click in like Wi-Fi, like, oh, I'm okay. And then so we get to do that good work together.
No, I absolutely love that. What are some things that you're seeing in the cycle breaking that you're doing with clients?
What are some things I'm seeing?
Yep.
Like in regards to like just in general or
what are some things that like you're noticing, like I don't want to say like as a trend, but as like more common that people are really struggling with?
I think something that Again, I talk about on my page is boundaries.
Yeah.
Knowing what boundaries are, because people often mistake boundaries for barriers.
Mm,
That's not what it is. And also that just because these are your boundaries doesn't mean that it's going to be somebody else's boundaries, because boundaries are also unique to the person.
yeah.
So that comes up a lot where they're like, well, I set boundaries. I put them out. And I'm like, let's reevaluate what boundaries are. Boundaries are actually to keep people in. It's to create a bridge. It's to let somebody know this is what I feel safe with so that we can continue to cultivate a relationship. It's not strong arming someone out and being like, no. And we're the ones in charge of our boundaries. I feel like that's the other thing where it's like they weren't respecting my boundaries. And I bring it back. I'm a little bit of real talk there. And I'm like, were you respecting your boundaries? If you say you need to leave at 9, it's not anybody else's job, but it's your job. So are
Right.
you doing that? And people will react the way they do. We don't have any control over that, and thank goodness. But we have some control over how we carry ourselves, right? And if we want to remove ourselves from a situation, then do it. We don't wait for somebody else to do that, especially when you're the one taking care of you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the um like misconception with boundaries is it has to be these like big things that yeah, I also thought that they were to basically like keep people out, or if you can't, it wasn't to bring people in. Like that was literally 30 seconds ago brand new news to me.
Oh,
So
welcome.
clearly I'm still learning as well.
It's a new
Uh,
world.
I love it. But yeah, I think I know I thought the boundaries were like these big things because there's certain people that I deal with in my personal life that I'm like boundaries just don't exist with them.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm like kind of realizing that I'm already putting those boundaries up, like limiting contact, like limiting certain things that I will say and stuff like that. And, they may or may not like it, but at the end of the day, like they're not the most emotionally safe person for me to be around.
Yeah.
So, it's but yeah, I also thought the boundaries were like these big, like this long list of like these big jumps in things. And I also need to remind myself a lot of the times that boundaries can be these like little small things. Like you said, leaving at 9.
Hmm.
That's a boundary. That's not like, responsibility or whatever. That's a boundary. I'm leaving at 9.
Yeah, and you get to honor that for you. And their boundaries are they're not rigid. They're
Mhm.
flexible. They can be flexible. Obviously, there's always a special occasion, right? But if they're all special occasions, then no, we can't do that. But there's different types of boundaries, and I think people forget that. So there's across the board. There's emotional, physical, financial. That's a really big one.
Ooh.
Time, right? And so there are these different. I imagine them like a soundboard system
Mm.
with different dials. Each one has a different dial, right? Because not everyone is going to have the exact same boundaries with you, or like you're not going to have the exact same boundaries with them. You could have
Mhm.
your dial set to different things for every person. You can think about somebody who you love dearly. They could call you at 3 in the morning and be like, I'm having feelings. Like, are you available? You're like, yes, absolutely. But you can probably also, that same person could possibly be the person who you have a very strong financial boundary with, where you're like, I cannot lend you money. I can help you figure out resources, but that is just my personal boundary. I can't lend out anything that I can't afford. Right.
Right.
And so, and then also that can be different. And we have friends who we absolutely can spend 24/7 with, and other friends where it's like, I love them, that they're not bad people, but
Mhm.
I can probably do like a day or two. Right. And then we start to think about the friends we travel with versus the friends who were like, oh, this is good. We're like great on day outings, but it's just everybody has different personalities and
Yep.
energies and social batteries. Right. So you can imagine that's also a difference. And then maybe on your financial boundaries with them, you're like, oh no, I know that if I were to lend them, $20, they Venmo me in the hour, right?
Yeah.
So it's different. And because I feel like the idea of boundaries being barriers, it really just like it cuts us off from connection.
Mhm.
And as humans, we're built for connection. So it gives us a little bit more freedom there.
No, I I don't think we talk about financial boundaries like ever.
Mm, that's a
Because
big one.
yeah, I didn't even think about that. And I'm just kind of reflecting while you're talking. And yeah, my dad, one of my best friends, I cannot do more than 5 days on a vacation with him. Like by
Uh-huh.
day 6 and 7, I am like, get me off this island. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't do it. My stepmom, months. I could do months with her. My
Mm-hmm.
dad, 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And even 5 days is pushing it. Like my sister, I could do all the time in the world. My brother-in-law and I, meh. Like we just, we adore each other. We're close, blah blah blah, but I lived with them for 6 weeks, and at the end of that 6 weeks, both of us were like, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, but financial boundaries, can we talk about those? Because I don't think people really realize that's a boundary.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of first gen community, and it's a lot of identity is it's a like I come from a very collectivistic culture, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of us do in community, because we think about generations, right? We can't address what's going on now without also what's gone on generation wise, which is this has this has happened because we want to survive. And
Mhm.
now we're in the fortunate position of being able to be present as we thrive, right? A lot of the generations before have built the foundation for us to be able to do that.
Right.
Um, but financial boundaries, there's again bringing in our friends, guilt and shame, right? It's like, oh my gosh, they asked me for this money. And our automatic is always, it can be, I need to give them this. And so we look underneath and we're like, okay, well, what's the why? What's going on there? And a lot of the thoughts that come up are I feel owed to them, right? Or I'm a bad person, I'm a bad daughter, if I don't do this, right? So it's also exploring other ways that you can respect your needs so
Mhm.
that you can continue to support these people, right? Because if I cannot afford to give you $1,000, can
Right.
I still say yes? I'm like, oh yes, of course, because I go into my people pleasing, right? And I'm just like, okay, here's my $1,000, and then I'm out on rent for that month.
Mhm.
Like that's sowing seeds of resentment as well. The inspiration for setting boundaries is so that I can continue to connect with people and cultivate relationships, and also so that I don't mistake my actions as love when it's really sowing seeds of resentment,
Ooh,
right?
that's a good one.
So we don't want to do that part because then that's when the blow up happens. Well, I always do this for you, right? And then we get upset when other people honor their own boundaries, especially financial boundaries. You know what? I'm on a budget this month. I can't lend you $20, right? If your friend were to tell you that, you're like, what are you saying? I just lent you $1,000 like last month and you can't give me $20. They're like, no, I'm sorry. I can't
Mhm.
afford it. And suddenly you're like, I need you to cross your boundaries because I crossed mine. And then it
Ooh.
becomes messy. Hot mess
Yes.
espresso.
Major hot mess espresso. Oh my gosh. Well, to kind of jump off of something that you were saying, and that's not even like talking culturally or whatever. We had talked kind of off camera a little bit about learning how to put things down and finding who you are outside of your worth. And I know that happens especially with like eldest daughters.
Mhm.
Um, how do you sort of combat all of that with your clients, and are you seeing a lot of that?
Of putting things down and seeing your worth.
Like seeing like who you are, like your worth isn't tied to what you can do.
I'm not what I do.
Right.
Uh-huh. Um, yeah, that's a very heavy theme. I work
Mhm.
with people pleasers and overachievers.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a heavy theme.
right here.
Yeah, I'm recovering.
Yeah,
Thanks.
massively recovering for
Great club. But I like going back and I educate a lot in my work because
Mhm.
I like to tell people like you're not crazy. Like let's talk about what's going on. And so a lot of people the talk about fight or flight, right? They're always
Mm.
talking about how we survive, and they're like, "Oh, you go into fight or flight." Well, it's not only fight or flight; it's also fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is our friend who is the people pleasing survival. So that's I'm going
Mm.
to I'm going to appease others to keep myself safe. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people growing up, whether it was intentional or not by caregivers, sometimes it's just we assume whatever keeps us feeling safest. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people, they perform more. They're very smiley, even though they don't mean it. They just notice, oh, when I am happy, my family's happy. So I'm going to keep this up, even if I'm not feeling that way. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
then we're starting to lie to ourselves from a young age. Or I notice I get my love and attention whenever I achieve something, right?
Yep.
Or I'm impressive. So it's a lot of learning where we got that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we recalibrate our system to have to notice the safe moments, even if they're small.
Yeah.
Because you have a blueprint essentially when you're growing up that your nervous system creates. It's like, ooh, if I go over here, I'm safe. If I go over here, I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's within the world that you're raised in. And as you get older, you start to have more experiences and notice, like, oh, I don't need some of these anymore, but I still automatically do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like settings on your phone,
Yep.
where those are your factory settings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people, you know what? Even when your phone resets, we can always re-download the apps. So it's the same
That's a
with
good one.
us.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like you were saying, growing up, like just when I was growing up, I was definitely the smart one. So
Mm.
all of my achievements were in my grades and in my academics. And I also got a god awful GPA my second semester of college because also the gifted child to burnout and college ADHD pipeline is
Mhm.
very real. I didn't get diagnosed until I was like 29.
I didn't get
But
diagnosed till like 3 months ago.
isn't it great when you get diagnosed and you look back and you're like, oh, oh, uh,
You're like, it
oh,
all makes sense.
it all clicks.
Yeah, granted, I've been in this field for nearly 10 years now. And so
Mhm.
we've known, but I've always said, I'm like, my undiagnosed ADHD. And then so recently I was like, all right, I think it's time. I think I go from undiagnosed to diagnosed just to see how I can support myself and validate myself. So
Right.
forever on a journey.
It was actually kind of funny because 2 nights ago, we were like talking about like food or something with my mom, and she was like, "Yeah, you used to have like these hyperfixations where you would eat like the same thing for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden the next like one day you would just wake up and you never wanted to see that food again." And I was like, "Uh-huh."
Been there. Been there. And I'm like, this
Yes.
is my new thing. I am married to this.
Yeah. And then just as quickly divorced from it. Like it's like it's all these little things that you look back and thankfully like nobody knew about how ADHD presented in women up until probably less than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm looking back and going, "Ugh, my parents should have seen that," because from the outside looking in, I was a very typical ADHD
Yeah.
female, but from the outside looking in, I was a high achieving, smart, could read the entire Harry Potter series in a week. Like, no, that wasn't hyper focusing at all whatsoever. All of these things. And thankfully, I'd had enough therapy and enough like unpacking of my own shit that I just went and looked back and went, yeah, nobody would have picked up on that.
No, because if you're not making trouble, then
Oh,
why?
no. No,
You
I
know?
was literally the perfect child up until I was like a teenager and started like questioning everything. And that's when things kind of went left. But I also grew up in a very strict household. So you're obviously going to like push against it. But like grades wise and academics, like I was the gifted, like, in college early, graduated high school year early, like
Mhm.
all of that stuff. Like nobody would have known.
Yeah. No,
Nobody
and
would
the
have known.
same, even when I went through my, the evals for it, they're like, why didn't your parents say anything? I'm like, first of all, like, I was a good kid for the most part,
Yeah.
and my grades were good. Like, why would you complain about me if I'm getting my shit done?
Yeah, the executive dysfunction didn't really hit until later in life, and that's when I was, like, lazy and unmotivated,
Hmm.
and I say that in air quotes because that's just what it came off as, and now I
Hmm.
look back and I'm like, "No, that was executive dysfunction."
Yeah, and that
Like
was task paralysis that you're stuck in. I've
yeah.
totally been there where you're just like sitting and you're like, I want to do the things, but I can't.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Don't even get me started on laundry.
Ugh. See, my thing is making phone
All
calls.
the
My nervous system cannot tell the difference between being chased through the woods
Mhm.
by a clown with a knife and making a simple phone call to like make a doctor's appointment.
Mhm. Yep.
Cannot tell the difference.
It's laundry for me. That's me and laundry. We go way back.
Yeah.
That's
See, doing the laundry isn't the thing. It's hanging the clothes up that
yeah,
I'm
I
just
can do
like,
the first
no.
2 steps. It's the folding and
Mm-hmm.
that they're all in different categories that messes with me.
Yeah.
So then I had to create a system.
And then it's been in the laundry basket for 3 days and then it's wrinkled. So I need to rewash it because I can't do the
Mhm.
wrinkles. And yeah, it's so fun. Everyone's like, although there are some gifts with being ADHD, 1,000%. I wouldn't be able to do this podcast and everything else that I'm doing if I did not. If I was neurotypical, this would not be getting done at all.
I yeah, there are superpowers in it for sure.
Yeah,
When I'm not doing this, I'm also a musician and I
yeah.
love picking up on different hobbies. So I've gotten to do a lot of cool things. But touching back to financial boundaries, I have a
Mm-hmm.
personal rule with myself that I created a couple years ago because
Mm-hmm.
I recognized the pattern of like I would get excited about something and then I'm like, yeah, I totally need to invest in this. And then a couple months later, I'm like, oh, I'm a little over it. So I have to be invested in something for 3 to 6 months before I actually like put money into it.
That's actually
Um,
smart
so
considering that all of us hobby hop.
yeah, so like I have to figure out creative ways to like borrow. Like if somebody else has something, got into sourdough making
Ooh.
last year, and so I was like, I'm going to like I'm not allowed to spend on like a super fancy Dutch oven or like any of these
Mm-hmm.
things. And I'm like, let me just practice making it with what I have. And luckily that works. You don't need all of the fancy things. They're just there. They're
Nope.
nice, but you don't need them. And then so after 6 months, I was like, cool. I'm gonna get this thing for it. Like I think I still haven't gotten it actually. I want a bigger mat to roll and
Ah,
stretch and fold. But yeah, so things like that where I'm like, that's my boundary with myself because I gotta have that. Otherwise, the budget would not be respected.
yeah, no, that's honestly a genius idea that I'm gonna just jot down, to be completely honest.
You're
Uh,
welcome. You're welcome.
but you said you were a musician. What kind
Yes.
of music do you write? Do you play? Like,
I write, I play, I don't perform anymore.
mm-hmm.
I minored in music in college. I went to school in San Francisco, so it was really cool because my homework was like going to the opera, going to a jazz
Ah,
club, and interviewing musicians. And then after I graduated college, after my 8 to 5, I would intern at a studio from 6 to 3 in the morning. So another time, another energy level because
yeah, I was just gonna say we can't do that over 30, but we all used to do it between 18 and 22, man. We'd be
yeah,
rolling into class at 8 a.m. no problem. Like
it
the
was a
hell?
time. I was like 3 hours. Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
good. So I've had some fun experiences in that field. And then I interned for a bit at Clear Channel when I was in college, but now it's iHeartRadio.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
because I was like, I've heard of Clear Channel.
yeah, it just they just swap
Yep.
brand. But yeah, so I write and I have a collaborative project with a friend, and that's just I have a couple projects where it's just to feed my soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily for business or anything, though we collaborate with different artists and stuff, and so it's cool, it's fun. But it's I heard a quote once that I really like, and it is the opposite of depression is expression.
Ooh.
And so whenever I notice that I'm not as creative, that's like my empty light going on for me, where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't feel like writing. I don't feel like creating something. And so that's been nice because then I write my way out of things. And also if you go on my Instagram, like I also dabble in poetry. And so sometimes
Yeah.
it's just fun to create a flow.
Yeah.
So that's also part of my self-care.
Yeah. So to kind of keep going with the self-care, how do you take care of yourself, especially after a hard day with some really hard topics with clients?
I move my body because I think a lot of us are educated now to know that emotion lives in the body,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I try to activate my brain, and through movement we get to do that. So I know for myself, it's if I absolutely have no time for anything, it's going to be a 10-minute walk. Like I tell myself,
Ooh.
that's it. That's all you have to do. Just a 10-minute walk. And I
Mm-hmm.
gentle parent myself through that. Um, and so that helps. Or like I'll put on a song and I'll if you're familiar with Grey's Anatomy, right? I'll have a 30-second dance party on my own, and I'll just move even if I look like sadness from inside out, and I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm just moving. But in I really try to honor, especially with the ADHD, my routine.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where I get to fall back into rhythm. So trying to work out regularly. I'm not aiming to be the best
Right.
because I'm, a recovering overachiever. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, I don't want to do 5 days a week. I want to do 2 to 3 days a week. Anything extra is great, but we're just aiming for 2, right? Because life is life. So moving my body and hydrating, I really got to hydrate. That's a challenge for me. And
Same.
other self-care is connecting with people
Mm-hmm.
who have nothing to do with this life. Like with
Yes.
my therapy life or my job, the friends that you have where nobody really knows what each other does, but they're
Mm-hmm.
like, but I know you're impressive as heck, right? Like me and my
Right.
friends always say that. We're like, what's your title again? Who do you work with? Yeah, chatting with one of them and being like, okay, let's just gab. Let's just yap.
I love that.
hmm Those are my go-tos. And then I have to limit my social media if I'm feeling like I'm really at the edge.
Oh,
Because
literally.
I really, if you can't tell, I really love metaphors and like visualization to
Same.
imagine things. And so I heard somebody phrase it as like, you would never be okay with somebody opening your door in the morning and letting 40 people in.
Mm.
40 random people in, because you don't know how any of them are going to influence your day, right? And so it's the same thing with social media. It's like, do I have the capacity to let 40 people into my life right now, not knowing how they're going to impact me? Because
Mm-hmm.
that just happens on social media. You fall into this comparison. You fall into thinking like, oh shoot, like I should be working or I should be doing this, or all of that, or you doom scroll, which is
The doom scrolling.
very easy to do. And then before
Yeah.
you know it, it's 3 hours later, and I could have at least taken a 10-minute walk.
I've been on a Judge Judy hyperfixation in the People's Court.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for like, if I ever wind up in small claims court, I'll know all there is to know. But like at the same time, I'm
You
just
can fix
kind
an
of
alcohol.
like, I'm like, girl, you could have gone to the gym. You could have, there's a lot of things you could have done. So can we like put the phone down? I actually finally like gotten a focus because I have an iPhone.
Mhm.
There's a focus mode. This is peace and motherfucking quiet that I
Oh,
pop it on
mhm.
so that my phone doesn't go, because if my phone goes off, I have to look at it. So I
Yeah.
will literally like, there's 3 people that are allowed to like pop through, and I will just put my phone down and like go do something. And then I can listen to music without my phone going off.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and just like get some stuff done around the house, or I body double a lot. I will FaceTime one of my friends and clean my house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll call them and just put the
Yep.
earphones in, and I'm like, hey, you have time for a body double? And
Yeah.
I'll get things, even if we're in silence. It's just nice.
Yeah. It's just nice. And the amount of crap I get done in a half hour all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I could have been doing this for 6. Okay. Okay.
But see, it's the beauty of connection, right?
Exactly. Because I, like you were saying, like connecting with people that aren't in your industry. I've got some podcaster friends, but like I
Mhm.
don't have, most of my friends have zero desire to do this, don't have a huge social media presence, don't like do the whole TikTok streaming thing. And it's actually really nice because I can bitch about something and
Mhm.
they're like, yeah, that sucks. And then we can talk about other things that are going on, like in their life and things like
Mhm.
that. And it's not like I'm constantly surrounded by podcast stuff and TikTok
Yeah.
stuff and, the latest TikTok drama, because there's always drama between to creators. It always is. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really nice to just be.
And also getting back and connecting to like the
Mhm.
question earlier of like who you are, right?
Yeah.
One of my mentors, I've been very lucky, been very blessed with good mentors along my journey.
Mhm.
And when I was wrapping up my intern year, she was like, "Hey, so what would you do if you lost your license or like you lost this job? Like
Oh.
if you couldn't work in this anymore, like what would
Mhm.
you do? And who are you when you go home? Because that's the part of your life that is going to stick with you.
Oh.
Jobs change, but your relationships, that's where like are you investing the time and energy, right? Because I think at that time too, I was new and she was seeing that I was staying late and I was like, no, I'm going to get it right. Like
Nah.
let me just get this right. Let me get this down. But she's like, honor what happens after this. And I was like, cool. All right. So then she sent me on this little project. She's like, you haven't talked about music in a while. So she's like, go do a contest, go do something. And it was like an NPR contest. And I was like, yeah, sure. It's not about winning. It's about creating. It's about just connecting
Exactly.
with yourself.
What do you do, and this is for the fellow overachievers that are gonna listen to this, what do you do when you feel, especially because we're recovering overachievers, what are your go-to things when you feel kind of like your overachiever bubbling up to the surface, or do you feel like you've kinda got most of a handle on it?
It depends, of course, always on
Yeah.
what's going on. When she's bubbling up, uh, I ask, what's the rush?
Ooh,
Like, what are you racing towards? Um, and then who am I trying to impress?
that's
Um,
a big one.
and then I sit with the facts, which are the things that I have achieved. And I get to sit with my inner child with that because I wouldn't treat a child like that.
Ooh.
Um, a reason, one of the many reasons, like I had gotten back into inner work for myself, like a while ago, was I was like, well, if I ever want to be a parent one day, you got to start those things now. And I was doing a lot of parent educating and working, like specializing in working with younger kiddos. Now I work with inner children.
Mm.
So I work with adults, but that was the inspiration for me where it was like, okay, how would I speak to a child? I would speak to them lovingly, and children don't do what you tell them to do. They just don't.
Oh,
They
very
do
true.
what they see. And so for me, like I didn't even have a partner at the time. Like I was just like, I know that I need to, knowing myself, I need to make this second nature for me.
Yeah.
So I was not speaking kind to myself. And I was really like swimming in shame to be my motivation to do things. And I was like, oh, that's
Mhm.
not sustainable. Right. So when my overachiever is out, I'm like, okay, this is little me. Let's talk to her. Let's see her inspirations here and see what she's actually looking for. And see if I can provide some compassion and validation and also just find some safety and stillness. So I need to reset if she's peeking out.
It's funny that you mentioned, like, talking to yourself like you're talking to a child because my nephew's younger and at that age where, like, he's he wants to skip all the steps and be here already.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been a few times that I've had to sit with him and be like, "Hey, buddy, you've got to." And I've also kind of been like, when I'm like, I should be here already. It's like, okay, well, what would you tell your nephew?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to have an actual like live example
Mm-hmm.
because I'm talking to him the way I wanted to be talked to as a kid. So it's like I'm almost getting into that habit, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a big thing. Like, would you, if a child came to you and was like, blah blah blah, how would you? And that's how you have to talk to yourself. Sometimes you have to talk to yourself like you're, 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, because you're likely performing, right? We're performing for connection.
Yep.
And so when was the last time you connected with yourself?
Yeah. Connecting with yourself is so freaking hard.
It's a relationship.
It's a really dark closet. It's like, we don't go there. So can I just point out though that your sign, and if you're watching the Spotify or the YouTube, you'll be able to see this. And if you're not watching those, find one of them so you can watch this. There's a sign behind you and it's dot dot dot, and that's okay.
Mhm.
I love that.
Thank you. What is it when you have somebody paint it? I had it commissioned. I
That's
had a friend of the family do it. I was like, she's an artist, and I was like, hey, this is like 75% of my therapy. Will you do this sign for me? And so she did a beautiful job, and definitely a lot prettier than if I had done it.
oh yeah, I can't. I'm not artsy craftsy to save my life. Like the preschool crafts are about where my limit is.
Hmm.
And even then it's a little dicey.
Originally, I was just looking at my Instagram today, and I remembered like the first name I had for it was "And That's Okay." And then I had changed it to First Gen Feeler because I was like, well, let's just be clear about who I am.
Right.
But yeah, I love "And That's Okay" because if you tack it onto most things, it works. It's like, I'm really frustrated, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm angry, and that's okay because sometimes those things don't feel safe for us.
Yeah. It's well, because a lot of us grew up where negative emotions didn't really exist, and like, just get over it, rub some dirt in it, like, that kind of thing. So validating negative emotions is terrifying.
Yeah. But again, new relationships. We're
Mhm.
creating new relationships and patterns for our brains.
There and I feel like as I've gotten older, I've learned that it's okay to sit with it and not wallow in it. There is a difference.
Yes. Yes.
Like if
There,
I'm going through it, I give myself 24 hours. I will feel all the feels. I will let it sink in. I will, and but then the next morning, figure it out.
the next morning we get a fresh start, right?
Yep.
Because like what you had mentioned earlier, right? The idea of your nervous system not knowing the difference between being in a situation of danger
Mhm.
versus being safe, like making a phone call.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this, which is, you choose where your energy goes. And this
Mhm.
isn't in a, I just want to put it out there. It's not in a like toxic positivity sort of way.
Oh
I'm like,
god, I hate toxic
you choose
positivity
where your
so
energy,
much.
like, just have you tried thinking positive? And
Have you
I'm
tried
just like,
yoga?
have you tried that? Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother conversation.
Have you tried a
Uh,
gratitude journal? Like they're great, but also like
there's a
no.
time and place. There's a time
Yes.
and place. But when you are fixating on emotions too,
Mhm.
knowing the difference of like, oh shoot, like I'm choosing to now spend my energy here,
Yep.
and I'm taking away from actually being present in today, and I'm missing out on like that I actually got outside and felt the sun. So just focusing on sensations. I always encourage people, I'm like, okay, just, you don't have to focus on the future, you don't have to focus, like if we're trying to take ourselves back, like come back to your body. How do we do that?
Mhm.
How do we regulate?
Yeah. Cuz I'll be honest, sometimes it takes me more than 24 hours to get over something.
Yeah.
And sometimes because of, how my brain has been wired, I hyperfixate on really disliking a situation or a person or something like that. And it'll take me a few weeks to get out of it. Or, I'll
Mhm.
snap out of it and then snap back into it, snap out of it. But it's being aware of that and being like, okay, you're pushing it a little. Like this something that you want to live rent free in your head? Is this something that's actually going to serve you sitting in it? And
Mhm.
it's, sometimes I have my people that'll give me the come to Jesus moment and be like, "Hey, hi, get the fuck over it."
You know, it's a muscle.
It is.
It's a muscle. Let me see if I have this. Let me see if I have this right. Okay, so another way that I like whenever I need extra inspiration,
Mhm.
right? If somebody were to give you $1,440 and you found out somebody stole $10 of it, like, would you burn the rest of the money because you were pissed off? There's 1,440 minutes in a day.
Mm.
Right. And then so people get serious about money. They're like, they're like,
Yeah.
everything else, no. But like with that, and I'm just like, would I bring the money? I'm like, no, I'd save it. I'd spend it on other things that I like. And so, what do you want to spend that money on instead?
Yeah, it's like going into the time is money, but literally.
Yeah.
And that's also a good way to look at it. I haven't ever thought of it that way. So, There's so many things I'm jotting down from this episode. I love when I walk away from an episode and I've like learned a thing or two and there's something else that I can apply. Like those are my favorite types of episodes. But where can we find you on Instagram? First Gen Feeler?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram at First Gen Feeler. If you want to work with me, I am accepting clients in California. I work with clients virtually all over California, and that's firstgenfeeler.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do speaking engagements and workshops virtually and in person. And so right now I do a lot of education on like the nervous system, self-care, boundaries, all that. But I have examples of it on my website.
I love
And
that.
one more thing before I forget, I'm also
Absolutely.
co-founder of a group called First Gen BIPOC Therapists. And
Ooh.
so if anyone out there is First Gen BIPOC and the therapist, a mental health therapist registered with the BBS, we have a group. And again, you can find all of that connected to my media.
Yep. So once again, First Gen Feeler on Instagram and firstgenfeeler.com, her website. Victoria, thank you so, so much for taking the time out, especially now that I know how freaking early it was for you.
You're good. We're all good. This was fun.